What he's saying, though.
All right. So before we walk through the dungeons, I'll give you a brief history about this castle. So this is St. George's Castle, otherwise known as Elmina Castle. It was built by the Portuguese in the year 1482. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to arrive here. They came here in 1471, purposely to trade and to spread Christianity. They came along with guns, gunpowder, tobacco, mirror, used clothing, and exchanged that for gold, ivory, and later on the other spices. So the system of trade was barter, exchange of goods for goods. Gold was what the Portuguese initially were interested in, and incidentally the locals were giving them too much gold. So the Portuguese came to believe that the place was full of gold, and by that reason they named the place Amina or Damina.
Okay, you were asking earlier what it means.
It means the mine.
Oh.
That name has
Gold
been
mine,
corrupted.
basically.
Yes.
Gold mine. In what
Elmina.
language?
Amina, Portuguese. Amina.
Okay.
So that name has been corrupted into today's Elmina. It's actually a Portuguese word.
Right.
But before they arrived here, the original name of this town was Anum Ansa. Anum Ansa in our dialect simply means inexhaustible supply of water. Nsuwa Unumwa Ensa. So that is the original name of this town. Before
And that's
Akan.
Akan language,
Yes,
yes.
Akan tree.
Okay.
So that is the original name before
Right.
Portuguese Amina, which has been corrupted into today's Elmina.
Gotcha.
The Portuguese in the 16th century shifted their attention from the gold trade to the slave trade. And the big question we throw to ourselves is that what led to this slave trade? What happened was that there was an exploration the Spaniards made, notably Christopher Columbus slavery, and the subsequent establishment of tobacco, sugar, cotton plantations in a place they refer to as the New World, today's America and the Caribbean. So they had all these plantations established and they were in need of labor. The people they found on the land were the Native Americans. The records have it that they subjected them to work on the plantations. But due to European brutalities, European diseases, and the climatic conditions, they were not surviving, they were dying.
Right.
It was then that the priests suggested the use of Africans. The name of the priest was Bartolomeo de las Casas. Based on this suggestion, they carried out an experiment in Hispaniola. Hispaniola is today's Haiti and Dominican Republic.
That's where she's from.
Yes, they brought in some Africans to work on the plantations. And at the end of it, they realized that the Africans were much stronger than the
Guys,
Native Americans.
come listen.
That led to the forced exodus of Africans, the horrible enslavement of Africans from their homeland to a land that is new to them. What became known as the transatlantic slave trade. This is where it all started, this castle. And how were they getting the slaves? They had them through kidnapping, through raiding. Our local chiefs were selling out their prisoners for food. They had them from today's countries, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote
You have to
d'Ivoire,
pay attention.
and then Ghana. Before they arrive here, they'll pass them through slave markets in the northern part, Salaga.
Right.
Then middle part, Bunumansu, Techimai. Asin Mansu is where they have their last bath as Africans. And there is the final holding place awaiting the ship's arrival. The Portuguese stayed here for 155 years. In 1637, looking at the profit they were generating, the Dutch launched the attack on them and captured the castle from the Portuguese. The Dutch stayed here up to 1872. So they spent 235 years here. Then finally the British bought this castle from the Dutch. Stayed here until we had our independence from their rule on 6th March 1957. So the British spent 85 years right here. Today, this castle has been under our custody as Ghanaians for 67 years, since we had it from British colonial rule. But the age of the castle is 542 years.
Wow.
This is the oldest, the largest, and the biggest
542 years.
castle all over West Africa. So this is just a brief history.
So it's older than Gorée
Gorée
in Senegal?
Yes, this
Okay.
is very-
Wow.
This is the brief history. It passes through different forms. First of all, it was a trading post and residence of the missionaries. Then it became a slave dungeon. And this slave trade lasted close up to 400 years. Then it became the police training school, a secondary school. Today, UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is just an overview. At this point, I'd like to pause if you have any question for me.
No, I read a lot about it. As you can see, I'm from here. So, it's mostly her coming for the first time. And, my children also, I want to, introduce them to history very early, because I learned about it as an adult very old. It's not supposed to be like that. Yeah.
So we'll walk through the dungeons and tell the dark and all of that.
Right.
Let's start from the female section.
Come, Lily.
Oh.
I have to hold your
Can
hand.
we start
Give me your
from the
hand. Give me your
carnival?
hand.
Yes, we'll go there.
Okay. Slick kind of. But y'all go. So yeah, then I'm going to deviate, and then I'm going to all things happen and why. And then you can have it in conclusion.
Male slave laundry.
So we start from the female.
Female slave. Just a little bit here.
So we are the female courtyard. And all the rooms here were female dungeons. About 400 people were held at a time. And these are reservoirs. Let's have a look. The Portuguese built these reservoirs for the storage of water. The channel pipes from the roof, rainwater was collected there.
Okay.
They use the water for domestic purposes at the castle.
Okay.
Right. Please come.
I have to hold your hand, Lily.
We are inside one of the female slave dungeons.
Okay.
About 120 people were held there in shackles. The same place they ate, urinated, defecated, menstruated, vomited, and slept for 2 to 3 months. No bathroom. They had their last bath at Asimanso. The only source of ventilation and light are the windows, one here, one on the side. There was a big door at the entrances. The doors are always open. Anytime the governor wants to pick any of them to be raped before they open the doors. Let's see the largest dungeon.
Watch your head. So this is the largest one.
This is the largest of the female dungeons.
Wow.
About 150 women were held there in chains. The same place they ate, urinated, defecated, menstruated, vomited, and slept. Because of the inhumane and unhygienic conditions, a lot of them died. And when you die here, no befitting burial. They just pick you and dump you into the sea. The whole over there leads to the magazine where the Europeans kept their weapons, guns, gunpowder, and other ammunition. Anytime there's a leakage, the gas comes in here, suffocated the women and killed most of them. And once they realize that you are dead, they just pick your bodies and dump it into the sea. No burial. So we refer to the west coast of West Africa as a white man's grave because of yellow fever and malaria. Most of the Europeans don't survive on our land. They die. Due to that, they didn't come here with their families. They left their wives at Europe. At the castle, anytime your sexual urges emanate, they rape the female slaves. The governor, the soldiers, the merchant, they take advantage of the female slaves. The governor, because of his position, he will stand on top there. Right on top there is the balcony of the governor. The governor will stand there under the soldiers to remove all the female slaves from the dungeons. They will line up right there at the courtyard. So Toby Lusu, the picks any woman he prefers. When he does that, they single the woman out. This woman has defecated, menstruated, urinated, but still the governor wants it. So it is a responsibility of the soldiers to prepare the woman. How? They fetch water from the reservoir, wash the woman right here, tolerate. They give her something to eat for energy, apply perfumes on her, pass her through the private access to the governor's bedroom. The irony of all this is that right on top of their church. So they burn their church on top of that church. They go there to worship God. Right here, Africans are also enslaved. Suffer. I don't know the kind of God they worship. Let's see the secret passage. This is the secret passage or the private access to the governor's bedroom.
Okay.
The woman will be led through this staircase to the governor's residence, where the governor will sexually molest the woman. After the governor sexually had his way, they will bring the woman back into the dungeons. The possibility of her being raped by the other soldiers was very high. Due to that, most of them got pregnant. When the ships arrived, the pregnant ones were not shipped, they were separated. Okay. The Europeans had stone houses built in town. They would keep the woman there until she delivered. And when she gave birth, they take the child from the woman and return her back to the castle. This time around, they made a domestic slave. Wow. Initially, she was held as a dungeon slave. When the child grew, they brought the child to the castle to be trained. They started what we call castle schools in Ghana. They trained them to be interpreters to bridge the language gap. Right. The most intelligent were trained to become missionaries to spread Christianity. And they gave European names to their children. So in this portion of our coast, you hear names like Ferguson, Atchison, Peterson, Thompson, Van Vicker, Van Dyke, Da Costa. All these are the people we call mulattoes. In our local dialect, we call them half-caste or mixed race. They are the genesis of European names in our culture today.
Yeah.
So this one is like a Portuguese cannonball.
Cannonball, yeah.
There's a cannonball.
See that? That's a cannonball.
But where's the cannon?
It's on top of the roof.
Let me tell you about this place. So the cannonball was used to punish any female slave that resist the governor. How? They would tie a chain around her leg to this. She would be stacked here. This is very heavy. It weighs about 25 kg. So the one is stacked right there. When it's raining, she's inside of it. When the sun is scorching, she's right inside there. The rest through the windows will be watching what is happening. They do that to break the spirit of the woman, so that she will serve as a deterrent for the rest not to resist the governor's advances. So this is the female passage to the room of no return. When the ships arrived, all the female slaves that survived, that is where we march all of them to the room of no return. When we get into this dungeon, we will not see the staircase, because as at the time the British were here, by then slavery ended. The British Parliament passed the first law against slavery in 1807. The Dutch Parliament followed suit in 1814. But these laws were passed at Europe. The people here started the illegal trade until the British passed the second law in 1833-34. William Wilberforce and other people were championing the ending of the slavery before everything ended. So as at 1872, when they were here, slavery was not practiced. They converted a wooden staircase into a drainage to channel rainwater into the sea. We later added this iron for safety reasons. Now we want to take the next phase of our tour to see the room of no return.
So right now you have water down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Drainage. Anytime it rains.
Yeah. That's a sad story, right?
So before we see the room of no return, let's talk about this empty space here.
Okay.
There is the main courtyard. The building in the middle here is the oldest Roman Catholic church right here in Ghana, the Dutch church. When the Dutch took over in 1637, they were not Catholics. They were Protestants. So what they did was that they went upstairs and built their church on top of one of the dungeons. Divided this Portuguese church into two, using the top one as junior soldiers' mess and the down part as trading hall or ushering hall. So while the junior soldiers were making merry upstairs, slaves are also being ushered downstairs. And when the British were here, they converted it into police classroom. Today, the place is a museum. So this castle, your position determines where you stay.
Right.
The governor occupies the room at the top part of the castle, right there. Second floor, the whole of this floor, European soldiers down there. They want to come to this side. Missionaries and merchants, they were also staying here. The medical practitioners were also at the other side. And all the rooms you see on the ground floor of the castle, they were used for holding the male captives, with the exception of these two which are cells. The slanted walls are called buttresses. The Dutch added them to support the walls of the castle. Okay. And the iron railings was added by the British. 1948. They turned the castle into a police training school. So that's what they use for training. They'll climb up and descend down to strengthen their muscles. Now let's see the room of no return. The steps are very steep.
Sure. Let me hold your hand.
Take his hand. Yeah. we got it.
Gently, let's descend.
So watch your step, okay? One at a time. One at a time.
No, you're not jumping. Now you can jump.
Please come. This room here is the branding room where the slaves were given identifications. The Europeans would put branding iron in fire. After it's been heated, they lifted it. To give them identification. Out of shock from the branding irons, a lot of them died. Let's walk through the branding. This room is very, very heavy.
Yeah.
Out of pain, out of shock, out of anguish, a lot of people died here. And when you die, no befitting burial. They just lift your bodies and dump them into the sea. So evil. All the rooms on the ground floor of the castle held the male captives. They were numbered 600. In the female section, they were about 400. So at the time, this castle held 1,000 enslaved Africans at the time.
Wow.
And only 110 made it to the New World across the Middle Passage. Because of the aggressive nature, the Europeans wouldn't come here to feed them. They were fed once every day. Boiled corn, millet, bread. They couldn't come here because of the aggressive nature. They were passing food from the top. There is a feeding hole. Supposing someone's in a corner there. And they were locked up in shackles. These people were not only from Ghana, different tribes.
Right.
You can imagine the chaos even in the dungeons. You have to fight your way through before you get something to eat and you're in shackled. So, this is the only source of ventilation and lights. So when it rains, it comes right on them. The only source of ventilation and lights.
That's horrific.
Very, very good. When the ships arrived, all the female slaves that survived met the male slaves inside this dungeon we are going. So as we go here, if you have a torchlight, you can turn it on.
Okay.
One step gently down. One step down.
Do you have your right? Then you step here, Lee. Down.
Good job. So this is the intersection dungeon. The female slaves and the wooden staircase, they descended from here. But today it's a drainage.
Okay.
The British converted it into a drainage.
Right.
The male slaves who entered from here.
Okay.
This is the meeting point. The only time they could see themselves. At the castle, they were separated. The males here, the females here. They didn't want them to be meeting and procreate. So if you're able to survive for about 8 to 9 weeks of agony, this will be the only time you could see your spouse. And it's just a transit point. They march all of them from here to the room of no return. We are going to the room of no return. Please bend down gently. Take 5 steps before you raise your head.
Okay.
They intentionally narrowed the exits to control the slaves. 5 steps, please.
You hear that? I mean, you guys. So 5 steps.
But I eat them. I'm a kid.
You don't have to
Yeah, you know how to bend. You're a kid. Yeah.
This is the room of no return. And the door original, door of no return. Once you get to this room, that is the last time you are seeing the soil of Africa. From this room through this door, we have millions of Africans today in Haiti, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, America, Barbados, Brazil, and all over the world today, Jamaica and other parts. That is where millions of years ago, the ancestors left the shores of the continent without returning back. The Portuguese sent their captives to Brazil. Today, aside Nigeria and Africa, Brazil has one of the largest black populations in the world. The Dutch sent their captives to the Caribbean colonies, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and other parts. The British also, they had the British Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, and other parts. They also sent their captives to the American colonies, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolinas, Atlanta, Georgia. That is where millions of years ago, many Africans left the shores of the continent without returning, what became known as the transatlantic slave trade. Looking at the narrow nature of this door, that is not to say that the slaves were not big and muscular. These are people not only from Ghana, the Wonos, all the way from Senegal, Mandinka, Mandis from Atagi, Ubunus from West Central Africa, from Angola area, Yoruba Igbo.
You can see it, yeah.
Yoruba Igbo from Nigeria, Ajah form Efe from the Togo Benin area. Then Chira Akwamu, Asantis, Fantis from Gold Coast, today's Ghana, Musi from Burkina Faso. These are some of the tribes that were taken. Before you arrive here, most of them loses their weight, so they were able to fit in. And most were also forced through this narrow door, the door of no return. Once they passed through this door, smaller boats picked them at the mouth of the castle. The sea was very close, but today it has receded due to climate change. So smaller boats picked them here to the bigger ships, anchors some little distance. And on the slave ship, they were arranged, one on top on the other, by how ships are arranged on the shelves. Books on the shelves, that's how they were arranged, like sardine. The suffering was a continuous episode of suffering. On the middle passage is more horrific than even what they suffered at the dungeon. From one stage, it became worse and worse and worse. They were sent to work on plantations, on forests, on mines in America, in the Caribbean, what became known as the transatlantic slave trade. This is where all the atrocities started, this castle. The rate you see, all these were brought by people from the diaspora, the Caribbean, Americans in from America, African American. They brought all these ones to pay homage to their ancestors. And the bottles you see around us, so this is a very sacred ground. We perform rituals and libation here. We do all that to connect them with the ancestors. Today, this place becomes room of return. We are going to return to our various place of work. Never again. We want to return. We are returning.
Yep.
We are returning. Never again.
Watch your head.
Bend down, watch your head.
I need to bend down.
Okay, Lily. Okay.
It's because I'm a kid.
Okay, you're a kid. You don't need to bend down.